The ancient alien puzzle box stumped the galaxy's brightest minds for centuries, but Earth's backwater humans were about to shock the interstellar community. Ambassador Neron of the Ferengi diplomatic vessel, hovering in Earth's orbit, requested an urgent meeting with world leaders. The United Nations scrambled to assemble a delegation, their usual bureaucratic processes accelerated by the looming threat of galactic isolation. Gabriel Allen, a brilliant physicist from a small Midwestern town, found himself thrust into the spotlight. His social awkwardness contrasted sharply with the polished demeanor of seasoned diplomats surrounding him in the hastily arranged UN conference room. The air crackled with tension as Ambassador Neron stepped forward, his large lobes and sharp teeth marking him as distinctly non-human. Neron's ultimatum fell like a hammer blow. Solve the puzzle box within 30 days, or face immediate quarantine. Earth would be cut off from all interstellar trade and communication, relegated to a cosmic backwater for generations to come. The assembled delegates shifted uneasily, the weight of humanity's future pressing down on their shoulders. The Ferengi ambassador produced the puzzle box, its intricate mechanisms gleaming under the harsh fluorescent lights. He explained that Earth was the last stop on a tour of hundreds of worlds, none of which could crack the box's code. The relic, left behind by a long-extinct civilization, had resisted the efforts of the galaxy's most advanced races. As UN delegates argued among themselves, some pushing to reject the challenge outright, Gabriel found himself drawn to the puzzle box. Its complex patterns and shifting surfaces spoke to him in a language of pure mathematics and physics. Despite objections from more experienced diplomats, Gabriel convinced the UN to let him study the artifact. Ambassador Neron initially dismissed Gabriel's efforts with a sneer, his attitude reflecting the galaxy's view of Earth as an insignificant, primitive world. However, as Gabriel's unorthodox approach began yielding results, the Ferengi's dismissive attitude gave way to shock and growing interest. The clock ticked relentlessly as Gabriel worked, his fingers dancing across the box's surface, his mind racing through calculations and theories. Each small breakthrough revealed new layers of complexity, hinting at the incredible sophistication of the long-lost civilization that created it. As Earth's deadline approached, Gabriel's work on the puzzle box unexpectedly revealed hidden aspects of Ferengi culture and biology. The implications of these discoveries created a palpable tension between him and Ambassador Neron. Their interactions became a delicate dance of scientific curiosity, cultural misunderstandings, and an undercurrent of mutual fascination. The fate of Earth's place in the galactic community hung in the balance. Gabriel raced against time, pushing the limits of human ingenuity to unlock the box's secrets. Meanwhile, he navigated the complex political and personal dynamics with the increasingly intrigued Ferengi ambassador. The stage was set for a showdown that would either condemn humanity to cosmic irrelevance or catapult Earth onto the galactic stage, proving that this backwater world had more to offer than anyone, human or alien, had ever imagined. Gabriel's fingers flew across the puzzle box's surface, his eyes darting between the shifting patterns and the holographic displays surrounding him. The UN conference room had given way to a state-of-the-art research facility nestled in the Nevada desert, its stark white walls a stark contrast to the vibrant alien technology at its center. Dr. Marcus Chen leaned in, his breath fogging his protective goggles, as he studied a particularly intricate section of the box. "Gabriel, look at this. The cellular structure here. It's unlike anything I've ever seen." Gabriel nodded, barely glancing up from his work. "It's responding to the harmonic frequencies. Each new layer reveals more complexity." A sudden burst of static filled the air, causing both men to jump back. The puzzle box pulsed with an eerie blue light, and for a moment every screen in the facility went dark. When the systems flickered back to life, the air around them shimmered with holographic projections of star maps and alien text. "My God," Dr. Chen whispered, his eyes wide with wonder. Gabriel's heart raced as he began deciphering the newly revealed information. This is incredible. It's not just a puzzle, it's a warning." Across the room, Ambassador Neron's large lobes twitched with interest. She had been observing the human's progress with growing fascination, her initial skepticism giving way to grudging respect. Now, as she watched Gabriel work, There was something else in her eyes, a glimmer of admiration, perhaps even affection. Lieutenant James Hawkins noticed this change in the Ferengi ambassador's demeanor. His eyes sharp as he watched Niran move closer to Gabriel, her sharp teeth bared in what passed for a Ferengi smile. Hawkins's hand instinctively moved to the sidearm at his hip, a gesture that didn't go unnoticed by the UN security personnel stationed around the room. As the days passed, the facility became a hive of activity. Scientists from around the world were brought in, each signing ironclad non-disclosure agreements before being allowed to see the artifact. Outside, the world seethed with rumors and speculation. Protesters gathered daily outside government buildings, their signs demanding everything from full disclosure to outright rejection of alien contact. Inside the facility, Gabriel worked tirelessly. He had created a device that emitted a range of sound waves, causing parts of the box to shift and reveal new layers of complexity. Each breakthrough brought them closer to understanding the true nature of the artifact. "It's a test," Gabriel explained to the assembled team, his voice hoarse from lack of sleep. "The civilization that created this, they were looking for species capable of solving it, because only those with sufficient intelligence and creativity could handle the information hidden inside." Dr. Chen frowned, his brow furrowed in concentration. "What kind of information requires this level of security?" Gabriel's expression was grim as he pulled up a holographic display. A threat. Something that nearly wiped out all life in the galaxy once before. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. It was Niran who broke the silence, her voice uncharacteristically subdued. This changes everything. My people, we had no idea." Gabriel turned to her, noticing the conflict in her eyes. "Ambassador, we need your help. The box, it requires input from multiple species to fully activate its final stage." Niran hesitated, her gaze flicking between Gabriel and the puzzle box. In that moment, the weight of her position seemed to press down on her. She was no longer just an ambassador assessing a primitive world. She was standing at the crossroads of galactic history. Lieutenant Hawkins stepped forward, his voice tight with barely suppressed anger. "Now wait just a minute. We can't just hand over control of this thing to the aliens. How do we know we can trust them?" Gabriel met Hawkins's glare with a steady gaze. "Lieutenant, we don't have a choice. This isn't about Earth or the Ferengi anymore. Whatever this threat is, it affects all of us." As if to punctuate his words, the puzzle box emitted another pulse of energy. This time, the holographic display expanded, filling the entire room with swirling galaxies and incomprehensible alien script. Niran moved to stand beside Gabriel, her fingers hovering over the box's surface. I will help, for the sake of all our peoples." Together, human and Ferengi, they began to work on the final stage of the puzzle. The rest of the team watched in awe as the box responded to their combined efforts, layers peeling away to reveal deeper truths. As the 30-day deadline loomed ever closer, the tension in the facility reached a fever pitch. But for Gabriel and Niran, hunched over the alien artifact, the rest of the world seemed to fade away. They were no longer representatives of their respective species, but partners in a quest for knowledge that transcended planetary boundaries. The puzzle box hummed with energy, its surface shifting and changing under their touch. With each passing hour, they drew closer to unlocking its final secrets, and to understanding the true nature of the threat that had once nearly extinguished all life in the galaxy. The air in the facility crackled with an electric tension as Gabriel and Niran's fingers danced across the puzzle box's surface. Holographic displays flickered and pulsed, casting an otherworldly glow on their faces. Dr. Chen watched in awe, his clipboard forgotten in his hands as he witnessed the unprecedented collaboration between human and Ferengi. Unbeknownst to them, their groundbreaking progress had not gone unnoticed. In the shadowy corridors of Ferengi power, Trade Minister Zek leaned forward in his ornate chair, his eyes glittering with greed as he watched the encrypted feed from Earth. His fingers steepled beneath his chin, massive lobes twitching in anticipation. "Prepare the extraction team," Zek barked to his subordinate. "We move now." Back on Earth, Lieutenant Hawkins paced the perimeter of the research area, his eyes hardened tight. He watched Gabriel and Niran work side by side, their heads bent close together as they deciphered the box's secrets. The sight made his blood boil. Unable to contain himself any longer, Hawkins strode purposefully towards Gabriel. "Dr. Allen, a word," he growled, pulling the scientist aside. Gabriel blinked, momentarily disoriented as he was yanked from his deep focus. "Lieutenant? What's wrong?" Hawkins's voice was low and intense. "What's wrong? You're compromising Earth's security. That's what's wrong. How can you trust that alien so implicitly?" Gabriel's eyes widened in disbelief. "Lieutenant, Neron has been invaluable to our progress. Without her—" Their argument was cut short by a piercing alarm that shattered the concentrated silence of the facility. Red lights bathed the room in an ominous glow as security personnel scrambled to their stations. "Unauthorized entry detected," a computerized voice announced over the din. In the chaos that ensued, Gabriel's eyes locked with Neron's across the room. A silent understanding passed between them. Whatever was happening, protecting the puzzle box was paramount. As they rushed to secure the artifact, shadows seemed to flicker and move at the edges of their vision. The intruders were using some form of advanced cloaking technology, rendering them nearly invisible to the naked eye. "There!" Dr. Chen shouted, pointing at a distortion in the air near one of the computer banks. A security guard fired his weapon, the shot going wide as the barely visible figure dodged with inhuman speed. Gabriel clutched the puzzle box to his chest, his heart pounding. Neron positioned herself beside him, her sharp teeth bared in a protective snarl. Lieutenant Hawkins, his earlier suspicions momentarily forgotten, formed a protective barrier with his body, his weapon drawn. Suddenly, the puzzle box in Gabriel's arms began to vibrate. A soft blue glow emanated from its surface, growing in intensity until it engulfed Gabriel, Neron, Hawkins, and several of the Ferengi intruders who had managed to get close. The light coalesced into a shimmering, translucent dome that separated them from the chaos outside. Inside the force field, an eerie calm descended. Gabriel looked around in wonder, noting that the Ferengi operatives seemed just as confused as they were. When one of them lunged towards Gabriel, he bounced off an invisible barrier within the dome. "It's protecting us," Neron breathed, her large eyes wide with amazement. Hawkins tried to raise his weapon, only to find it unresponsive within the field. "What the hell is going on, Allen?" he demanded. Before Gabriel could respond, the puzzle box projected a series of complex holograms into the air around them. Streams of data and unfamiliar symbols swirled in intricate patterns. "It's responding to our proximity," Gabriel realized aloud. "Look, when we move closer together—" As if to demonstrate, he took a step towards Neron. The holograms shifted, becoming clearer and more detailed. Reluctantly, Hawkins and the Ferengi operatives moved closer as well. With each step, new information blossomed in the air around them. Outside the dome, the facility had descended into chaos. Dr. Chen watched in horrified fascination as more Ferengi materialized, their cloaking devices deactivating as they secured the perimeter. At their head strode a regal-looking Ferengi, his elaborate robes marking him as someone of great importance. "I am Trade Minister Zek," he announced, his voice carrying across the room, "and I'm here to claim what rightfully belongs to the Ferengi Alliance." The UN officials present bristled at his words. "This is an unprovoked attack on a sovereign nation," one of them declared. "You have no right—" Zek's laughter cut him off. "Rights? Let me tell you about rights. We have the right of superior technology, the right of superior intellect, and soon we'll have the right of superior knowledge." He gestured towards the shimmering dome. "Hand over the puzzle box, or we'll be forced to take more drastic measures." Inside the force field, Gabriel and the others worked feverishly to decipher the information being presented to them. As they collaborated, begrudgingly at first, then with increasing synergy, the holographic displays became more complex and detailed. This is incredible," Gabriel murmured, his fingers tracing lines of alien text in the air. "It's talking about some kind of galactic peacekeeping force, an organization that maintained balance among different civilizations." Neron nodded, her eyes scanning rapidly over the data. "Yes, and look here. There are references to Earth. Your planet, it wasn't as isolated as we thought." Lieutenant Hawkins, despite his earlier misgivings, found himself drawn into the discovery. Are you saying humans were part of this space police? As they delved deeper into the information, Dr. Chen made a breakthrough outside the force field. Poring over the data they'd collected before the attack, he noticed a pattern. "Gabriel," he shouted, hoping his voice would penetrate the dome. "The box, it's not just information. It's a key." Inside the force field, Gabriel's head snapped up. "A key," he repeated, the pieces falling into place. "Of course, it's not just a test or a repository. It's a key to reactivating the peacekeeping network." The implications of this revelation rippled through both groups. Inside the dome, human and Ferengi alike realized the monumental choice before them. Outside, Zek's eyes gleamed with avarice, while the UN officials paled at the potential consequences. As the force field began to fluctuate, signaling that their time was running short, a new commotion arose. A tall, imposing Ferengi female strode into the facility, flanked by a contingent of heavily armed guards. "Admiral Thala," Neron gasped, recognizing the newcomer. Zek's face contorted in a mix of fear and anger. "Admiral, what is the meaning of this? I have the situation under control." Admiral Thala's gaze swept the room, taking in the force field, the human scientists, and Zek's team of operatives. Her expression remained impassive, unreadable. "It would appear, Minister Zek, that the situation is far from under control," she said, her voice cold and authoritative. "And now, we all have a choice to make." As Admiral Thala's words hung in the air, the force field pulsed one final time, the fate of two species and, perhaps, the entire galaxy hanging in the balance. Balance. The force field surrounding the puzzle box pulsed one last time before rapidly expanding outward, engulfing the entire facility in a matter of seconds. Startled cries and exclamations filled the air as the shimmering barrier swept past humans and Ferengi alike, nullifying weapons and aggressive intent. Gabriel blinked, momentarily disoriented by the sudden shift. He found himself standing next to Neron, Lieutenant Hawkins, and Trade Minister Zek, all equally bewildered by the turn of events. The hostility that had permeated the air moments ago dissipated, replaced by a palpable sense of confusion and wonder. "What just happened?" Hawkins demanded, his hand instinctively reaching for his now useless weapon. Before anyone could respond, the puzzle box at the center of the room began to emit a soft, pulsating light. Streams of data coalesced into complex, interconnected holograms that filled the space around them, creating a labyrinth of light and information. Zek's eyes widened, his lobes twitching with a mix of fear and excitement. "By the blessed exchequer," he whispered, "I've never seen anything like this." As they watched, the holographic maze began to shift and change, forming corridors and pathways that seemed to beckon them forward. Gabriel felt an inexplicable urge to explore, to unravel the mysteries that lay hidden within the light. I think we're meant to navigate this," he said, his voice filled with a mixture of awe and trepidation. Neron nodded, her large eyes reflecting the swirling patterns of light. "Agreed, but it appears we must do so together." Outside the force field, Admiral Thala took control of the situation with practiced efficiency. She barked orders to her contingent, establishing a secure perimeter around the facility. Turning to the UN officials, she adopted a more diplomatic tone. "Gentlemen, I suggest we open lines of communication between our respective governments," she said, her voice firm but not unkind. "I've been monitoring this situation for months, and I believe we're on the cusp of something far greater than any of us anticipated." Inside the holographic labyrinth, Gabriel, Neron, Hawkins, and Zek found themselves facing their first challenge. A shimmering wall of symbols blocked their path, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. "It appears to be some sort of code," Neron observed, her fingers tracing the air in front of the symbols. Hawkins frowned, studying the patterns. "There's a sequence here, but it's unlike anything I've seen in my military training." Gabriel's mind raced, piecing together fragments of information they'd gleaned from the puzzle box. "Wait," he said, excitement building in his voice. "Neron, remember that section on quantum entanglement we uncovered earlier?" The Ferengi ambassador's eyes lit up with understanding. "Of course, the symbols represent different quantum states." Working together, human and Ferengi minds combined their knowledge and intuition. Zek, despite his initial reluctance, found himself drawn into the problem-solving process. His years of experience in trade negotiations proved surprisingly useful in deciphering the complex patterns. As they solved each puzzle and overcame each obstacle, the group delved deeper into the labyrinth. Physical challenges tested their agility and teamwork, while mental puzzles pushed their problem-solving skills to the limit. With each success, they uncovered caches of advanced technology left behind by the ancient peacekeeping force. "Look at this," Gabriel breathed, holding up a small, iridescent device. "According to the holographic data, this could cure diseases we've thought incurable for centuries." Hawkins examined another artifact, his military training kicking in. "And this looks like some kind of defense system. The capabilities are off the charts." As they progressed, the initial distrust between humans and Ferengi began to fade. Hawkins found himself relying on Niran's keen senses and quick thinking, while Zek grudgingly admitted that the humans' creativity often provided solutions he would never have considered. Outside the labyrinth, Dr. Chen worked feverishly with the data streams, his fingers flying over holographic interfaces. Suddenly, he let out a triumphant shout. "I've done it! I've cracked the base language structure!" Admiral Thala strode over, her interest piqued. "What have you found, Doctor?" Chen's eyes were wide with excitement and disbelief. "Earth. It wasn't just a peacekeeping outpost. According to these records, it was a central hub of operations for an entire sector of the galaxy." The revelation sent shockwaves through both human and Ferengi officials. The implications were staggering, forcing everyone to reevaluate their understanding of Earth's place in the cosmic order. Deep within the labyrinth, the team finally reached a central chamber. The air hummed with energy as a holographic figure materialized before them. Tall, ethereal, and clearly non-human, the being regarded them with ancient, knowing eyes. "I am the custodian," it announced, its voice resonating in their minds rather than their ears. "I am the guardian of the legacy left behind by those you would call the peacekeepers." Gabriel stepped forward, his heart pounding. "Why have you brought us here? What is the purpose of all this?" The custodian's form shimmered, and the chamber filled with holographic displays of distant worlds and advanced civilizations. The puzzle box was designed to identify species capable of wielding our legacy responsibly. You have proven yourselves worthy of this knowledge. As the custodian shared more information, the weight of responsibility settled heavily on Gabriel's shoulders. The technology they discovered could reshape the galaxy, but it could also cause untold destruction if misused. Niran, sensing Gabriel's internal struggle, placed a hand on his arm. "We bear this burden together," she said softly, "human and Ferengi alike." Zek, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, spoke up. "All my life I've pursued profit above all else. But this is bigger than any fortune I could amass." Hawkins nodded, his earlier xenophobia forgotten in the face of this cosmic revelation. "We have a chance to make a real difference, not just for our own species, but for the entire galaxy." As they stood there, united in purpose, the central chamber began to transform. The puzzle box expanded, its intricate mechanisms unlocking to reveal a massive, complex device. A giant star map of the galaxy materialized above them, dotted with pulsing lights representing dormant peacekeeping installations. The custodian's voice filled the chamber once more. "You have initiated the reactivation sequence. The network awakens, and with it, a new era of galactic cooperation and peace." As the force field surrounding the facility began to dissipate, Gabriel, Niran, Hawkins, and Zek exchanged glances. They knew that nothing would ever be the same. Earth and Ferenginar, once distant and distrustful neighbors, now stood at the threshold of a new age of collaboration and shared purpose. Outside, Admiral Thala and the UN officials watched in awe as the holographic star map expanded to fill the sky above the facility. The once clear lines between human and Ferengi interest blurred, replaced by a growing realization of their shared destiny. As news of the events began to spread, both Earth and Ferenginar braced for the societal upheavals that were sure to follow. Gabriel and his unlikely team of human and Ferengi allies found themselves thrust into the role of intermediaries, bridging the gap between their respective species and the ancient legacy they had unlocked. The Nevada facility, once a simple research outpost, now stood as a beacon of hope and a symbol of the challenges that lay ahead. As the sun began to set on this momentous day, casting long shadows across the desert landscape, Gabriel couldn't help but wonder what the dawn would bring. The future stretched out before them, vast and unknown, filled with both promise and peril. Peril and possibility. As the Nevada facility buzzed with activity, Gabriel found himself thrust into a whirlwind of debriefings, strategy sessions, and hasty preparations. The activation of the ancient peacekeeping network had sent shockwaves through both human and Ferengi societies, and the implications were only beginning to unfold. "We've detected multiple energy signatures across the galaxy," Dr. Chen reported, his fingers dancing over a holographic display. "It seems the reactivation has triggered dormant installations on a massive scale." Gabriel nodded, his mind racing with the possibilities. "Any idea how many?" "Hundreds at least," Chen replied, his voice a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Possibly thousands." Before Gabriel could respond, a priority communication alert flashed on the main screen. Admiral Thala's imposing figure materialized, her expression grave. "We have a situation," she announced without preamble. "A peacekeeping outpost has activated in the neutral zone between the Klingon Empire and the Romulan Star Empire. Both powers are mobilizing their fleets as we speak." The room erupted into a flurry of activity. Lieutenant Hawkins immediately began coordinating with Earth's military command, while UN officials huddled together, discussing diplomatic options. "We need to act fast," Gabriel said, turning to Neron. "If we don't intervene, this could escalate into a full-scale war." Neron nodded, her large eyes reflecting the gravity of the situation. "Agreed. But how do we assert control over an installation we barely understand, in a region of space where neither of our species has any official standing?" Admiral Thala's voice cut through the chaos. "I'm dispatching our fastest vessel, the Unity, to the coordinates of the outpost. Ambassador Neron, Mr. Allen, you'll lead a joint human-Ferengi diplomatic mission. Your objective is to secure control of the installation before Klingon or Romulan forces arrive." Gabriel felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it, their first real test as stewards of the Peacekeeper's legacy. He glanced at Neron, seeing his own mix of anticipation and anxiety mirrored in her expression. "Lieutenant Hawkins," Thala continued, "you'll head up security for the mission. Your experience at the Nevada facility makes you uniquely qualified for this task." Hawkins straightened, his earlier reluctance to work with aliens seemingly forgotten in the face of this new challenge. "Understood, Admiral. I won't let you down." As the Unity streaked through space at speeds Gabriel had never imagined possible, he found himself in the ship's makeshift command center, poring over data with Dr. Chen via subspace link. "There's something else," Chen said, his voice crackling slightly over the comm. "We've discovered references to a weapon system integrated into the outpost. It appears to be capable of neutralizing entire fleets without causing casualties." Gabriel's eyes widened. "A non-lethal weapon of that scale? That's incredible." "And incredibly dangerous if it falls into the wrong hands," Neron added, leaning over Gabriel's shoulder to study the data. As they approached the contested star system, tension mounted on the bridge of the Unity. Long-range sensors detected the approaching Klingon and Romulan fleets, their weapons primed for battle. "We're cutting it close," Hawkins muttered, his hand resting on his phaser. Gabriel nodded grimly. "Let's hope we're not too late." The Unity dropped out of warp near the ancient outpost, a massive structure that dwarfed their ship. Its surface was etched with intricate patterns that pulsed with an eerie, bluish light. "We're being scanned," the Ferengi tactical officer announced. "The outpost's defense systems are active." Before anyone could react, a shimmering energy field enveloped the Unity, holding it in place. "We need to get aboard that station," Gabriel said, turning to Neron and Hawkins. "Now!" The trio, along with a small team of human and Ferengi specialists, transported to the outpost's main airlock. As soon as they materialized, they were met with a barrage of energy pulses from automated defense drones. "Take cover!" Hawkins shouted, returning fire with practiced precision. Gabriel and Niran worked in tandem, using the knowledge they'd gained from the puzzle box to decipher the outpost's access protocols. Their fingers flew over alien control panels, their minds working in sync to overcome each security measure. "I think I've got it!" Niran exclaimed as the airlock hissed open. They rushed inside, fighting their way through corridors filled with swirling energy fields and holographic barriers. Each obstacle required a combination of Ferengi intuition and human creativity to overcome. Finally, they reached the outpost control center. Gabriel and Niran immediately set to work, interfacing with the alien technology, while Hawkins coordinated defense efforts with the Unity. "Klingon and Romulan fleets dropping out of warp," Hawkins reported, his voice tight with tension. "They're opening fire on each other and the outpost." The Unity shuddered under the impact of stray weapons fire. Gabriel's hands flew over the controls, his mind racing to activate the peacekeeping protocols before it was too late. "Niran, I need you to modulate the quantum field generators while I initialize the main power core," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. Niran nodded, her fingers dancing across the alien interface with surprising dexterity. "Ready when you are." With a final command sequence, Gabriel activated the outpost systems. A low hum filled the air, building to a crescendo as the neutralization field powered up. "Energy surge detected," Hawkins called out. "It's working!" Outside, a massive wave of bluish energy expanded from the outpost, engulfing the warring fleets. Ship after ship fell silent, their weapons and propulsion systems rendered inert by the non-lethal field. Gabriel let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Open a channel to the Klingon and Romulan flagships," he said, straightening his uniform. As the view screen flickered to life, revealing the angry faces of the rival commanders, Gabriel steeled himself for the most important diplomatic exchange of his life. The future of galactic peace hung in the balance, and he knew that every word would count. "Gentlemen," he began, his voice calm and authoritative, "I am Gabriel Allen, representing the United Earth and Ferengi Alliance Peacekeeping Initiative. I think it's time we had a talk about the future of this region of space." The Klingon commander's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You dare to interfere in matters beyond your understanding, human?" "On the contrary," Gabriel replied, gesturing to the ancient technology surrounding him. "We understand far more than you might think, and we're prepared to share that knowledge, if you're willing to negotiate." As the tense conversation unfolded, Gabriel felt a surge of hope. They had averted war for now, but he knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was changing, and Earth and Ferenginar were at the center of it all. Little did he know that as the Unity prepared for its journey home, a new mystery awaited them, one that would test their newfound alliance in ways they could never have imagined. Imagined. A priority message from Admiral Thala flashed on the main view screen, her expression a mix of concern and urgency. "Mr. Allen, we've detected an anomalous energy signature emanating from an uncharted planet in the Gamma Quadrant," she reported. "Given recent events, we believe it may be connected to the ancient peacekeepers. Your team's expertise is needed." Gabriel exchanged glances with Niran and Hawkins. "Understood, Admiral. We're on our way." As the Unity altered course, the crew prepared for the unknown. Gabriel pored over the data transmitted by Starfleet, his mind racing with possibilities. The energy signature bore similarities to the Nevada facility, but with distinct variations that hinted at something entirely new. "What do you make of this?" he asked Niran, gesturing to a series of fluctuating energy patterns. She leaned in, her large eyes narrowing in concentration. "It's unlike anything I've seen before, but there's a rhythm to it, almost like a heartbeat." As they approached the planet, tension mounted on the bridge. The world before them was shrouded in a thick, purplish atmosphere that defied standard sensor readings. "Prepare a shuttle for planetary descent," Gabriel ordered. "Niran, Hawkins, you're with me. We'll lead the away team." The shuttle cut through the dense fog, instruments struggling to maintain a steady course. Gabriel's fist clenched as he gripped the controls, relying more on instinct than technology to guide their descent. They touched down in a clearing surrounded by towering structures of an alien design. As the team disembarked, the purplish mist swirled around their ankles, limiting visibility to a few meters in any direction. "Atmospheric composition is within tolerable parameters," Neron reported, studying her tricorder. But this fog is playing havoc with our comm signals. Hawkins unholstered his phaser, eyes scanning their surroundings. Stay alert. We have no idea what's out there. They made their way through the ruins, each step revealing more of the ancient city's grandeur. Massive archways loomed overhead, their surfaces etched with intricate patterns that seemed to shift in the filtered light. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. A section of the path ahead collapsed, revealing a chasm too wide to jump. There! Gabriel pointed to a series of protruding ledges on the far wall. Neron, your agility might be our best bet here. The Ferengi nodded, her lithe form already in motion. She leapt from ledge to ledge with surprising grace, securing a rope on the other side for the others to follow. As they progressed deeper into the ruins, the challenges grew more complex. Gabriel found himself deciphering alien logic puzzles to open sealed doorways, while Hawkins's strength was put to the test, moving massive stone blocks to clear their path. It's like we're being tested, Neron observed, helping Gabriel with a particularly tricky sequence of symbols. Agreed, he replied, brow furrowed in concentration. But tested for what? Their answer came as they entered a vast chamber at the heart of the ruins. A colossal crystalline structure dominated the space, pulsing with impossibly strong energy. As they approached, holographic interfaces sprang to life, displaying streams of data in the same ancient language they'd encountered in the puzzle box. Gabriel immediately set to work, his fingers flying over the alien controls as he applied everything he'd learned about the Peacekeeper's technology. Neron, take a look at this, he called out, gesturing to a section of the display. These symbols, they almost look like financial records, she finished, eyes widening in surprise. But far more complex than anything I've seen. It's as if they're quantifying abstract concepts like peace and cooperation. While they worked, Hawkins explored the perimeter of the chamber. Over here, he shouted, his voice echoing in the cavernous space. I've found some kind of weapons cache. Before they could investigate further, the crystal structure emitted a blinding pulse of energy. The entire chamber hummed to life, dormant machinery stirring after millennia of silence. Gabriel, Neron's voice was tight with alarm. I think we've activated some kind of planetary defense system. On cue, a series of massive energy cannons emerged from hidden silos, their barrels aimed skyward. A quick check of their comms confirmed their worst fears. The Unity was being targeted. We need to shut this down now, Gabriel shouted, fingers flying over the controls. As they raced against time, the chamber shuddered. A hidden door slid open, revealing a stasis pod. Inside, a humanoid figure stirred, awakening from an impossibly long slumber. The being that emerged was unmistakably female, with iridescent skin and eyes that held depths of ancient wisdom. She spoke, her language a melodic stream of unfamiliar phonemes. Gabriel stepped forward, hands raised in a gesture of peace. Drawing on his knowledge of the puzzle box, he attempted to communicate. We, friends, he managed, pointing to himself and his team. Galaxy, changed. Need help. The alien, Zara, they would later learn, tilted her head, studying them intently. After a tense moment, understanding dawned in her eyes. She nodded, then moved to the crystal interface with practiced ease. With Zara's help, they managed to deactivate the defense system, but not before it had taken its toll. The planet's core, destabilized by the sudden surge of energy, began to break apart. We need to evacuate now, Hawkins shouted over the growing rumble. As they raced back to the shuttle, Gabriel made a split-second decision. Leave the weapons, he ordered. We take only what's necessary to save lives. Neron cast him a surprised glance, clearly impressed by his choice. They barely made it off the planet's surface as it began to disintegrate. The Unity, its warp drive damaged by the defense system's attack, limped away from the destruction. In the aftermath, as they began their long journey home, Gabriel found himself in a quiet corner of the ship with Zara. Using a combination of gestures, simple words, and the ship's database, they began the arduous task of bridging the gap between their cultures. Nearby, Neron watched their interaction, a mixture of curiosity and something deeper in her eyes. Hawkins, passing by, nodded respectfully to her. a small gesture that spoke volumes about how far they'd come. As Earth and Ferenginar grew ever distant, Gabriel couldn't shake the feeling that their discovery was just the beginning. With Zara's knowledge and the hints of other hidden outposts scattered throughout the galaxy, he knew that the true challenge lay ahead. The race for control of the Peacekeeper's legacy had begun, and the fledgling human-Ferengi alliance now found itself at the center of a rapidly changing galactic stage. Landscape. The Unity's journey back to Earth was far from smooth, its warp capabilities reduced after the encounter with the ancient defense system. Gabriel found himself splitting his time between decoding the wealth of information they'd gathered and assisting with repairs. A week into their return voyage, an urgent alert sounded on the bridge. Captain Marcus Chen, newly appointed commander of the Unity, strode onto the deck with purposeful steps. "Report," he ordered, his voice crisp and authoritative. "Sir, we've detected a distress signal from a nearby system," the communications officer replied. "It's faint, but definitely artificial in origin." Captain Chen's brow furrowed as he studied the readout. Gabriel watched the captain's face, seeing the internal debate play out in his eyes. After a moment, Chen nodded decisively. "Plot an intercept course. We have a duty to investigate," he declared. Gabriel felt a mixture of curiosity and apprehension as the Unity altered its heading. He exchanged glances with Niran, who stood nearby at a science station. Her large eyes reflected his own conflicted emotions. As they approached the source of the signal, the main view screen filled with an awe-inspiring sight. A massive space station hung suspended against the backdrop of a crimson gas giant, its architecture unlike anything Gabriel had ever seen. Curved sections reminiscent of Cardassian design merged seamlessly with angular Vulcan-inspired structures. And there, unmistakable to Gabriel's trained eye, were elements that matched the ancient Peacekeeper technology they'd encountered. "Fascinating," Niran breathed, her fingers flying over her console as she analyzed the readings. "The energy patterns, they're similar to what we saw in the Peacekeeper world, but far more stable." Captain Chen turned to Gabriel. "Mr. Allen, I want you to lead an away team. Take Niran and Lieutenant Hawkins with you. Find out what's going on over there and locate the source of that distress call." Minutes later, Gabriel materialized on the station with his team, phasers at the ready. The air around them hummed with barely perceptible energy, and the floor beneath their feet thrummed with hidden power. "Life signs detected," Hawkins reported, gesturing down a curving corridor. "Multiple species, concentrated in a large chamber ahead." They moved cautiously, rounding a bend to find themselves facing a vast, domed area. Gabriel's breath caught in his throat as he took in the scene before him. Dozens, perhaps hundreds of beings from various species milled about, their faces etched with worry and exhaustion. Some huddled in small groups, while others tended to makeshift living areas constructed from scavenged materials. A tall, willowy alien with iridescent scales approached them, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Welcome, strangers," it said in halting but understandable standard. "I am Zorak, elected spokesperson for our diverse community." Gabriel lowered his phaser, sensing no immediate threat. "I'm Gabriel Allen of the Starship Unity. We received a distress call. What's happened here?" Zorak's multifaceted eyes darkened. "We are refugees, Commander Allen. Each of us fled our homeworlds when conflicts erupted over rumors of hidden Peacekeeper technology. This station became our sanctuary." Gabriel felt a chill run down his spine. Their discoveries were already having far-reaching consequences across the galaxy. As he processed this information, a new voice cut through the background noise. "Excuse me, did you say you're from a starship?" Gabriel turned to see a lithe, blue-skinned humanoid pushing through the crowd. Her large, dark eyes sparkled with intelligence and curiosity. "Dr. Lyra Voss," she introduced herself, extending a webbed hand. "I'm a xenoarchaeologist. I've been studying this station's systems since I arrived, and I believe it's far more than just a refuge. It's a hub, a nexus point in the ancient Peacekeepers network." As Dr. Voss explained her findings, Gabriel found himself captivated not just by the information, but by her passion and expertise. He introduced her to Niran and Hawkins, and soon the four of them were deep in discussion about the station's potential. While Gabriel and Dr. Voss pored over schematics of the station's core systems, Neron wandered off to examine a bank of terminals she'd noticed earlier. Her fingers danced across the alien interface, her Ferengi intuition for systems and patterns serving her well. Suddenly, she let out a gasp of surprise. "Gabriel, you need to see this." He hurried over, Dr. Voss close behind. On the screen before them scrolled an endless stream of data, trade routes, resource locations, economic forecasts spanning the entire galaxy. This is incredible, Neron breathed, her eyes wide with excitement. With information like this, we could revolutionize interstellar commerce. The potential for Ferenginar alone is staggering. Gabriel nodded, equally amazed. As they discussed the implications of their discovery, he couldn't help but notice how animated Neron had become. Her passion for the subject brought a warmth to his chest, and he found himself smiling at her enthusiasm. Their moment of wonder was interrupted by Hawkins's urgent voice. "Commander, we've got a problem. The distress call, it didn't come from the refugees." Before Gabriel could respond, the station shuddered. Hidden panels slid open, revealing sleek, advanced technology. A holographic figure materialized before them, its form shifting and flickering between various species. "Greetings, inheritors," it said, its voice a harmonious blend of tones. "I am the curator, custodian of this nexus. I activated the beacon to summon those worthy of the Peacekeeper legacy." As the curator explained its purpose and the station's capabilities, including its ability to generate stable wormholes, Gabriel's mind raced with the possibilities. However, a growing sense of unease tempered his excitement. His concerns proved justified when alarms began blaring throughout the station. Captain Chen's voice crackled over the comms, tense and urgent. "Alan, we've got company. Multiple ships dropping out of warp. Klingon, Romulan, and several unknowns. They're all demanding control of the station." Gabriel exchanged grim looks with his team. They had stumbled upon something far bigger than they'd imagined, and now they found themselves at the center of a potential interstellar conflict. As the Unity faced off against the approaching fleets, Gabriel knew that their next actions would shape the future of the galaxy. With tensions rising and time running short, he turned to Dr. Voss and the curator. "We need to access this station's defensive systems now, and then we need to figure out how to turn the situation into an opportunity for peace, not war." As they raced against time, Gabriel couldn't shake the feeling that everything they'd experienced so far had been leading to this moment. The true test of their mission and of the Peacekeeper legacy was just beginning. The true test of their mission and of the Peacekeeper legacy was just unfolding before them. As Gabriel opened his mouth to issue orders, the station rocked violently. Klaxons blared, their shrill cry echoing through the corridors. "What was that?" Neron shouted, steadying herself against a console. Before anyone could respond, Captain Chen's voice crackled over the comms, tight with tension. "Alan, we've got a situation. A rogue Klingon faction just dropped out of warp. They're launching an all-out assault on the station." Gabriel's mind raced. They were woefully unprepared for a full-scale attack. "Captain, what's our status?" "Not good. The Unity's still recovering from our last encounter. We're scrambling to mount a defense, but we're outgunned." The station shuddered again, and Gabriel knew they were out of time. He turned to his team, his expression grim but determined. "Neron, we need to get those shield systems online. Hawkins, gather every able-bodied person you can find. We need a security force now." As his team sprang into action, Gabriel approached the curator's hologram. "We need access to this station's defensive capabilities, immediately." The curator's form flickered, its expression unreadable. "Access granted, inheritor, but be warned, the power you seek comes with great responsibility." Panels slid open around the chamber, revealing banks of advanced technology. Gabriel's fingers flew over the controls, his mind translating the alien interface thanks to his experience with the puzzle box. Neron worked beside him, her Ferengi intuition for systems proving invaluable. Together, they coaxed the ancient shield generators to life. A shimmering energy field enveloped the station, but Gabriel knew it wouldn't hold forever against a determined assault. Across the station, Hawkins moved with military precision. He organized the Unity crew members and capable refugees into a makeshift security force, setting up defensive positions at key junctures. Dr. Lyra Voss approached Gabriel, her blue skin flushed with excitement despite the chaos. "Commander, I've found something. An auxiliary control room. It might give us manual control over the station's wormhole technology." Gabriel nodded, his mind already calculating the possibilities. "Good work, Doctor. That could be our ace in the hole if things get worse. Stay on it." As if in response to his words, the station rocked again, more violently this time. The shield flickered ominously. "Intruder alert," the curator announced, its voice eerily calm. "Klingon boarding parties have breached the outer defenses." Gabriel's hand went to his phaser. "Hawkins, status report." "We're holding them off for now, sir," Hawkins replied, the sound of weapons fire in the background. "But they're pushing hard towards the central control room. Their leader, he calls himself Commander Koth. He's after the station's technology." Gabriel exchanged a glance with Niran. They both knew what was at stake if the Klingons seized control of the station and its vast database. Suddenly, the curator's form pulsed with energy. Emergency protocols activated, initiating peacekeeper defense systems. Throughout the station, hidden panels slid open. Strange, organic-looking devices emerged, pulsing with an otherworldly light. "Non-lethal weapon emplacements," the curator explained, "designed to disable enemy ships and technology without loss of life." Gabriel felt a surge of hope. "Can we get them online?" Zara, the ancient peacekeeper they had awoken earlier, stepped forward. Her iridescent skin seemed to glow as she interfaced with the alien technology. "I can guide you," she said, her voice melodic even in the chaos. As Gabriel, Niran, and Zara worked to bring the defensive systems online, the battle raged throughout the station. Hawkins's voice came over the comms, tense but controlled. "Commander, they're breaking through. We need backup in Section 3 Alpha." Gabriel made a split-second decision. "Niran, with me. Zara, can you handle this?" The ancient being nodded, her fingers dancing over the controls with practiced ease. Gabriel and Niran raced through the station's winding corridors, phasers at the ready. They rounded a corner and found themselves face-to-face with a group of Klingon warriors, led by a towering figure with a scar running down one side of his face. "Commander Koth, I presume," Gabriel said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. The Klingon leader snarled, his bat'leth gleaming in the emergency lighting. "Hand over control of this station, human, or die where you stand." Gabriel's mind raced, weighing their options. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and cornered. But as he glanced at Niran, seeing the persistence in her eyes, he knew they weren't beaten yet. "Listen to me, Koth," Gabriel said, lowering his phaser slightly. "This station, this technology, it's bigger than any one species. The peacekeepers built it to bring unity to the galaxy, not to be a weapon of war." Koth's eyes narrowed, but Gabriel pressed on, drawing on everything he had learned about Klingon culture. Where's the honor in stealing technology? In attacking refugees? The true glory lies in being part of something greater, in helping to forge a new era of peace and cooperation. Niran stepped forward, her voice ringing with conviction. "Look at us, Klingon, human and Ferengi, working together. If we can do it, why not the rest of the galaxy?" For a moment, doubt flickered in Koth's eyes, but before he could respond, the station shuddered violently. A massive wormhole burst into existence outside, visible through the corridor's viewports. A fleet of ships emerged, Earth, Ferengi, and others Gabriel didn't recognize. Captain Chen's voice came over the general comms, filled with relief and pride. "This is Captain Marcus Chen of the Starship Unity. We received your distress call. We stand ready to assist." The Klingon warriors looked to their leader, uncertainty clear on their faces. Koth's expression was unreadable as he weighed his options. In that moment of hesitation, Gabriel knew the immediate crisis had passed. But as he looked out at the assembled fleet and thought of the delicate negotiations that would follow, he realized that their greatest challenge was just beginning. The station, once a hidden refuge, was now poised to become the focal point of a new galactic order. And Gabriel, along with his diverse team of allies, found themselves at the very heart of it all. The station's Grand Assembly Hall buzzed with activity as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for the summit. Gabriel Allen stood at the podium, surveying the diverse crowd before him. Ferengi, Klingons, Romulans, and dozens of other species filled the room, their chatter a cacophony of different languages. Beside him, Neron adjusted her universal translator, her eyes scanning the crowd. "Quite a turnout," she murmured. "I've never seen so many species in one place before." Gabriel nodded, his expression a mixture of awe and persistence. "This is our chance to make a difference, Neron, to show that cooperation is possible, even among the most unlikely allies." As the last of the delegates took their seats, Gabriel cleared his throat. The room fell silent, all eyes turning to him. "Welcome, representatives of the galaxy," he began, his voice clear and steady. "We stand at a crossroads. The discovery of this Peacekeeper station and its technology offers us an unprecedented opportunity, but it also presents a grave responsibility." He gestured to Neron, who stepped forward. "Commander Allen and I have witnessed firsthand the power of collaboration between different species. Our partnership serves as living proof that we can overcome our differences and work towards a common goal." As Neron spoke, Gabriel noticed Ambassador Elena Ramos nodding approvingly from her seat in the Earth delegation. The Ferengi Grand Nagus, resplendent in his ornate robes, leaned forward with interest. The summit progressed, with heated debates erupting over the use and distribution of the Peacekeeper technology. Some factions argued for unrestricted access, while others pushed for strict regulation. As tensions rose, the curator's holographic form materialized in the center of the room. "Esteemed delegates," it announced, its voice a harmonious blend of tones, "I sense the discord among you. To aid in your deliberations, I offer you a glimpse of potential futures." A hidden door slid open in the wall behind the podium, revealing a chamber bathed in soft, pulsing light. Gabriel exchanged a glance with Neron before addressing the crowd. "The curator has invited a select group to experience these simulations. We'll reconvene once we've seen what they have to show us." Gabriel, Neron, Ambassador Ramos, the Ferengi Grand Nagus, and representatives from the Klingon and Romulan delegations followed the curator into the chamber. As the door closed behind them, the room filled with a shimmering, holographic display. They found themselves standing on a bustling space station, watching ships of various designs docking and departing. Beings of all species mingled freely, their faces alight with curiosity and friendship. "This is a future where the Peacekeeper technology is shared responsibly," the curator explained. "Poverty and resource scarcity have been eliminated. Conflicts are driven through diplomacy and mutual understanding." The scene shifted, and suddenly they were in the midst of a devastating space battle. Massive warships unleashed barrages of energy weapons, their hulls adorned with stolen Peacekeeper technology. "And this," the curator continued, its voice somber, "is the result of unrestricted access to advanced technology without proper safeguards." The simulations continued, each more vivid and impactful than the last. When they finally emerged from the chamber, the delegates were visibly shaken. "By the blessed exchequer," the Grand Nagus muttered, his lobes pale. "I had no idea the stakes were so high." Ambassador Ramos nodded gravely. "We must approach this with the utmost caution. The future of the galaxy truly hangs in the balance." As the summit reconvened, the atmosphere had changed. The debates continued, but with a new sense of gravity and purpose. Gabriel and Neron found themselves at the center of negotiations, their unique partnership serving as a model for interspecies collaboration. Meanwhile, in the station's security hub, Lieutenant Hawkins pored over sensor readings with Dr. Lyra Voss. The Andorian xenoarchaeologist's antenna twitched as she pointed to an anomaly on the screen. "There," she said, her voice tense. "That power fluctuation in Sector 7. It's not normal." Hawkins frowned, his military training kicking in. "Could be nothing, but we can't take that chance. I'll lead a team to investigate." As Hawkins assembled his security detail, Voss continued to monitor the station's systems. Her expertise with the ancient technology proved invaluable as she worked to isolate the anomaly. Hawkins and his team moved swiftly through the station's corridors, their phasers at the ready. As they approached Sector 7, the lights flickered ominously. "Hold," Hawkins ordered, raising a fist. He tapped his communicator. "Voss, what's our status?" "The power fluctuations are intensifying," her voice crackled through the comm. "Whatever's causing this, it's putting immense strain on the station's power core." Hawkins rounded a corner and froze. A hooded figure stood before an open panel, hands deep in a tangle of glowing circuits. "Stop right there!" Hawkins shouted, leveling his phaser. The saboteur turned, revealing a face twisted with fanatical commitment. "You're too late," he snarled. "The old order must fall for the new to rise." He yanked a handful of circuits free, and the corridor plunged into darkness. Emergency lights flickered to life as Hawkins tackled the saboteur to the ground. "Voss," he grunted, struggling to subdue the thrashing figure. "We've got a situation here. The power core—" "I'm on it," she replied, her voice steady despite the crisis. "Rerouting emergency power and initiating containment protocols." As Hawkins secured the saboteur, Voss worked feverishly in the control room. Her fingers flew over the alien interface, her mind racing to prevent a catastrophic meltdown. Outside the station, the Unity patrolled alongside ships from other species. Captain Chen stood on the bridge, coordinating the joint defensive operation. "Romulan vessel, adjust your position by 0.3 degrees, he ordered. "Klingon cruiser, maintain your current heading." The diverse fleet moved in concert, a practical demonstration of interspecies cooperation. As they maneuvered, Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in what they were accomplishing. Back in the summit chamber, Gabriel and Neron presented their findings from the station's database. The delegates listened intently as they described the network of dormant peacekeeper outposts scattered throughout the galaxy. "These outposts could be the key to maintaining peace and stability," Gabriel explained, "but their activation must be carefully managed to prevent conflict over their control." As the debate over the outposts began, the Ferengi Grand Nagus rose to speak. "Esteemed colleagues," he began, his voice filled with uncharacteristic solemnity, "I propose we use the station's replication technology to eliminate resource scarcity across the galaxy." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Some delegates nodded enthusiastically, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Ambassador Ramos stood next, her expression thoughtful. "While the Grand Nagus's proposal has merit, we must consider the economic implications carefully. I suggest we form an interstellar governing body to oversee the use of peacekeeper technology and manage its distribution." The chamber erupted into heated discussion. Gabriel and Neron exchanged glances, knowing that the decisions made here would shape the future of the galaxy for generations to come. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. Captain Chen's voice came over the comm system, tense and urgent. "Commander Allen, we've detected a massive fleet approaching from the edge of the system. They're like nothing we've ever seen before." The curator's hologram flickered to life, its expression unreadable. "The precursors have returned," it announced. "The creators of the peacekeepers, the seeders of life throughout the galaxy." A hush fell over the assembly as the implications sank in. Gabriel stepped forward, his mind racing with possibilities and potential consequences. "Neron," he said, turning to his Ferengi partner, "we need to make contact. If anyone can help us navigate this situation, it's you and me." Neron nodded, her expression a mixture of excitement and apprehension. As they made their way to the shuttle bay, the station buzzed with a new kind of energy. The summit participants and the Unity crew watched anxiously, knowing that the future of the stars now rested on the shoulders of a human and a Ferengi. As Gabriel and Neron boarded their shuttle, the enormity of the task before them settled in. They were about to make first contact with a civilization so advanced, so ancient, that it had shaped the very course of life in the galaxy. The shuttle bay doors opened, revealing the vast expanse of space. In the distance, the precursor fleet loomed, their ships unlike anything Gabriel or Neron had ever seen. As they guided their small craft towards the alien armada, both knew that this moment would define not just their own lives, but the future of every sentient being in the galaxy. Galaxy. As their shuttle drew closer to the massive precursor vessel, Gabriel felt his heart racing. The alien ship dwarfed anything he had ever seen, its surface a mesmerizing array of shifting patterns and pulsating energy. "Ready?" he asked, glancing at Niran. The Ferengi nodded, her expression a mix of excitement and apprehension. "As I'll ever be." With a soft thud, their shuttle docked with the precursor ship. The airlock cycled, and they stepped into a vast chamber that defied comprehension. Swirling lights danced around them, forming intricate geometric patterns that seemed to exist in more dimensions than the eye could perceive. Suddenly, beings of pure energy materialized before them. Gabriel's mind reeled as he felt an alien presence brush against his consciousness. Beside him, Niran gasped, her lobes twitching. "We are the precursors," a voice echoed in their minds, accompanied by pulses of brilliant light. "We have watched and waited." Images flooded Gabriel's mind, eons of galactic history compressed into moments. He saw the birth of stars, the rise and fall of civilizations, and the slow march of evolution across countless worlds. "The Peacekeepers," Niran managed to say, her voice filled with awe. "You created them." "Yes," the precursors responded. "An experiment abandoned long ago. We sought guardians for the galaxy, but the time was not right." Gabriel struggled to process the torrent of information and emotions. "Why have you returned now?" The chamber pulsed with energy. "We have observed your kind, humans, Ferengi, and others. Your cooperation in the face of adversity intrigues us. Perhaps now, at last, there are those worthy of our legacy." The implications of their words hit Gabriel like a shockwave. He exchanged a glance with Niran, seeing his own mix of hope and trepidation reflected in her eyes. "We offer you our knowledge, our technology," the precursors continued. "But know this, such power carries great responsibility. In the wrong hands, it could bring devastation beyond imagining." Gabriel took a deep breath, centering himself. He thought of the summit, of the delicate balance they had achieved, of the trust built between species that had once been bitter enemies. "If I may," he said, choosing his words carefully, "we are grateful for your offer, but we've learned that sudden shifts in power can lead to conflict." Niran nodded, catching on to his train of thought. "What if, instead of simply giving us your knowledge, you worked alongside us? A gradual integration of your technology and wisdom." The chamber fell silent. For a moment, Gabriel feared they had offended these ancient beings. Then a ripple of what could only be described as surprise passed through the energy fields around them. "Intriguing," the precursors responded. "In all our observations, no species has proposed such an approach. You continue to surprise us." Relief washed over Gabriel. He felt Niran's hand grasp his, a gesture of solidarity that bridged their different species. "We accept your proposal," the precursors announced. "Let us return to your station and begin this new chapter in galactic history." As they re-entered their shuttle, Gabriel's mind raced with the implications of what had just transpired. The future of the galaxy had irrevocably changed, and he and Niran were at the center of it all. Back on the station, the arrival of the precursors caused a mixture of awe and apprehension. The summit chamber, so recently filled with heated debate, now buzzed with whispered conversations and wide-eyed stares. Over the following weeks, representatives from every species worked tirelessly to draft a new galactic charter. The precursors, true to their word, offered guidance without domination. Their vast knowledge helped smooth over conflicts and find innovative solutions to age-old problems. Gabriel found himself in endless meetings, his diplomatic skills pushed to their limits. He watched with pride as the framework for a new era of cooperation took shape. "The Peacekeeper Station will serve as a neutral zone," Ambassador Ramos announced during one session. "A permanent center for diplomacy with representatives from all signatories." The Klingon delegate, who had once arrived on the station ready for battle, now nodded in agreement. "And the dormant peacekeeper outposts?" "Reactivated gradually," Niran explained. "Under joint supervision, they'll become hubs for research, cultural exchange, and diplomatic missions." As the charter took shape, so too did initiatives to address long-standing issues. The Ferengi Grand Nagus's proposal for using replication technology to combat resource scarcity was refined and implemented in stages. "We must be cautious," the Grand Nagus insisted, showing an uncharacteristic concern for the greater good. Sudden abundance could destabilize economies across the galaxy. Gabriel watched with satisfaction as safeguards were put in place, ensuring that the benefits of the new technology would be distributed fairly and sustainably. Earth, once dismissed as a backwater planet, found itself thrust into a central role in galactic politics. The announcement that it would host a new galactic academy was met with excitement and a sense of responsibility. Individuals from all species will study diplomacy, science, and the responsible use of advanced technology, Gabriel explained to a group of Earth officials. It's a chance to shape the future of the galaxy. As the new galactic order took shape, Gabriel couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them to this point. From a mysterious puzzle box to first contact with the precursors, every step had been unexpected. He found Neron on the observation deck, watching as ships from dozens of species worked together to construct a massive deep space exploration vessel. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" he asked, joining her at the viewport. Neron shook her head, a smile playing on her lips. "Never. When I first arrived on Earth with that puzzle box, I thought I was dealing with a backwater planet of no consequence." Gabriel chuckled. "And now I realize that your species' unique approach to problem solving, your willingness to cooperate, it was the key to unlocking all of this." She gestured at the construction efforts outside. As they stood there watching the symbol of their newfound unity take shape, Gabriel felt a sense of both accomplishment and anticipation. They had come so far, but the journey was just the beginning. New challenges, new discoveries, and new opportunities for cooperation lay ahead. The galaxy had changed, and they had changed with it. Whatever the future held, Gabriel knew that they would face it together. Not just he and Neron, but all the species that now stood united under their new charter. Outside the viewport, the deep space vessel's frame grew steadily larger, a testament to what could be achieved when different civilizations worked as one. It was more than just a ship. It was a promise of exploration, of discovery, and of a future brighter than any single species could have imagined alone.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.